over here. This plays into our conversation about boobs a little bit. Asmongold has always been going on about the boob slider. Why can't we have a boob slider? It was a bit of a running joke about having a slider, when you design a character, a slider to adjust the shape and size of the boobs. Some games have it. WoW doesn't. Blizzard and World of Warcraft over the last couple of years have been having a bit of an issue. They've had a big scandal with sexism. I should get this up to show you. Blizzard lawsuit sexism. I just put sexism. Basically what happened is there was like a frat boy workplace culture, it says here, look. And, you know, you can read into that. You can have a good look at that. There was a lawsuit not put against them by people that work at the company, but put against them by the state, essentially. They were investigated, they were found wanting, people got the sack, people quit, people walked. That's the thing that happened. So that's happened fairly recently. Blizzard have been making some changes to WoW recently. There's a new expansion coming out. It's not all about that court case, but they've been going back over the old game. They've been remodeling some assets, so, you know, updating the way things look. And as part of that, they've been changing some things as well. Like there was a painting of a woman with her big boobies. I don't remember it myself, but there was a painting, and they've changed the painting, so it's now some fruit, things like that. So this conversation is happening in this context.
Alexstrasza looks great with full skin covered. They just need to make hot chicks with big boobs. I mean, she still has cleavage.
And we're talking about Alexstrasza, who is a character in World of Warcraft who is also a dragon. And when she's in dragon form, she's not really, you know, feminized in that way. But when she's a female woman form, in the historic context of the game, certain characters have been, you know, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons style archetypes.
So let's talk about these two issues. And yeah, exactly. And this.
So they're saying they're covering up the women in the game because of that lawsuit that happened. Now everything's got to be covered up. You know, you've got to be ultra careful.
Is the kind of dumb.
And you would think that once that lawsuit's happened, they're going to be careful about releasing future content that's going to be sexist. You know, they're not going to write new stories that are going to be super sexist, are they? Because people will be watching them and they want to be perceived as quite modern values rather than tired old sexist values.
You know, information I get to read, right? It's gonna make it work by safe. There's some women and fruits. What idiots! So here's what the difference. Here's what the difference here is. The picture in Strat, in Skullamonts.
The old picture of a painting of a woman that was in the old game that's been there for a long time, and they're remodeling character models and some of the assets, and it's been changed.
Wasn't on the front cover of the new product. So going back and retroactively removing something that's been in the game for 15 years is not the same as having a chainmail bikini character come out right after the fucking sexual assault allegations. The whole scandal, it's common sense. Yeah, it's not the same fucking thing. People just want their streamer to shit on something they hate. Well, I think so too. I mean, things change over time. Yeah, exactly. And nuance doesn't exist. It's all black and white. I think that these people, here's the way that I see it. I think that these people, it's not like they're sexually assaulting a character, implying it won't get worse. Well, here's the thing, is that I think the Alexstrasza, the old Alexstrasza model was like not super great. Like it was not really super great.
So that's a straightforward point, isn't it? We're looking at the old model, whether you judge it on whatever criteria you judge it on. And I haven't got images of old model. I should get the old model of Alexstrasza and the new model of Alex. I think this is what we're talking about, is that in the olden days, things were a bit more straightforward and simple with the polygon count. And over the years, things have got a bit more complex with the number of polygons, colours and design. And things change, don't they? So I'm not a big expert on the character models in WoW and how they've changed over the years necessarily, but it seems obvious to the eye that I'll focus on that if you want. That is not the same as that. Yeah, it's not the same. No, it's changed. And the changes are improvements because you've gone from lower fidelity graphics to higher fidelity graphics. So those improvements, standard, you know, yes, they're different. You know, if you met her in the street, they look like different people. But you've changed the fidelity of the graphics. You have also changed the face shape. You've also changed the skin tone. You've also changed the hair. Like, everything's changed, but subtly enough so that if you ran into two people in the street that were dressed like this, you'd say, oh, it's two Alex Strazas here, wouldn't you? I mean, the horns are quite different, colour, shape and all that as well. That's the sort of context that we're talking about. And have they covered her up more or made her less patriarchally eroticized? No, I'm not going to come. I don't know. I don't think it's a big change in that aspect. I think it's more of a change in the fidelity, but that's what I think there. I don't know.
Because all of the WoW female models looked pretty much the same. Like, if you go back and you look at Ysera, if you go back and you look at Sylvanas, if you go back and you look at Alexstrasza, they all look the exact same. They are all chainmail bikinis. There's no nuance or like anything special to them or anything like that. So if they want to make her character a little bit different, that's fine. Now, are they obviously covering her up? Yeah, I think so. And I do think that it's stupid. I want to make this very clear. I think that the only reason that Blizzard is making this change is because they're worried that people will perceive it badly. And I will go again to what I said with the Jonathan thing.
Right, so I don't know if I agree with that. The only reason they're making that change is because they think I could understand that if you could say that, and like, I'm not looking at the whole costume, so let's just assume they are covering her up a bit. Is it the only reason they're doing it? No, definitely not. I don't think, because they're definitely going to be sharpening her up as well, aren't they? There's a lot of other reasons to be updating that model than just let's get some clothes on her. So it's not just that, I don't think, but
if you pander and you cater to unreasonable people, you then become unreasonable yourself.
And the idea is that it's unreasonable. Like, people are out there going, oh, fucking hell, you've got people with half naked in your video game, you have to cover them up, and that these people that are saying that are fucking unreasonable, and, fuck off, we can have half naked people in the video game if you want, don't be prudes. And I understand that point of view. I think that's a fair enough point of view, but I think it's slightly straw manning, because I don't know if there is, I mean, there probably is a sort of religious right-wing fanatical perspective that you shouldn't have these. I mean, they're called Magic the Gathering cards, Satan cards, didn't they? But I don't think that's the general social perspective on this. I think what's actually probably more likely coming through in focus groups, because they probably do focus groups, and they want the game to be interesting to a wide group of people. They want it to be inviting to a wide group of people across society. They don't want it to just be a small demographic like traditionally PC gaming would have been demographically biased towards young men who want to have a PC and want to play these games. I think that's right. I'm right in saying that, apropos of no investigation at all or anything. I think young men would have been the demographic originally, but I think it's a broader demographic these days, especially when you consider that the future of gaming will be on mobile phones, because mobile phones will be that powerful that they can run things like modern games. So there'll be more and more, modern games on mobile phones. Not mobile gaming, but just phones will be able to, or portable devices, your iPads or whatever, will be able to more and more in the future play and access these online-based games. And if you're in Blizzard, you want a wide open market, you want more fish in the pond, you want an open market. You don't want to say, well, women don't want to play our game. For a good example, women are put off by XYZ. They think XYZ. You go and do your market research. Go and find out about a load of women, the ones that don't play the game. Why don't you want to play the game? I'm not interested in games. Okay, well, that's going to be hard to reach you. What about you? I really like games, but I prefer things like Animal Crossing because I don't want to talk to other people. I just want to sit on my own island. All right, okay, you're in our ballpark, but it's hard to reach you. I do play games. I play MMOs, but I find some of them incredibly sexist, and the atmosphere and the culture around certain MMOs is full of sexism, and it's more of a boys' club than other games. So I don't tend to play them. Right? Okay, we can reach you, and that's a huge problem in our thing. If I was running a business and people said to me, I don't like coming to your restaurant because it's got this atmosphere, like, it could have a bar and it could be like Hooters, and that could be my target market, young men. So that'd be good. I don't like coming to your restaurant because I feel a bit out of place, a young woman says, and I think, well, maybe you should do. I don't care. It's not my target market. But if your target market is the general public, and more young women are involved in gaming, and so they should be, I mean, I come from, remember, I'm a dinosaur. I come from days of going to pay £1 in an arcade machine so that you could have 10p a go, and you could have like 5 credits with 10p, and then like I then got a machine at my home that could do it. Like I got a NES, and I was like, oh my fucking god, this is awesome. I've come, I've seen it all change. I've been there all the way. I had a whole history with it. Nowadays, it's different, isn't it? Like my sister probably plays equally as many video games as I do. She always has done, really. And I think certain things would put people off or draw people to them. So I could see that if you're in that marketing department and you're making these decisions in Blizzard, what you're looking for is to create an environment that's wholesome and fun and doesn't put people, in general, not just girls, but other people as well, general, the players. They don't, you do know, if I'm talking to you, Asmongold here can pause and say a million things that have happened that have put off players from the game, that was player-based, developed, emergent gameplay, people being dicks. People have been dicks, and people go, I don't want to play this because people have been mean to me. Do you know what I mean? That shit goes on. We want that to not go on. We want it to be inviting and fun and open, and we don't want it to feel like a boys' club. We've heard the feedback, and I think it's fair. I haven't done the feedback, I'm guessing, but I think it's a fair assumption, isn't it, that over the years, certain MMOs, maybe not World of Warcraft, but certain spaces online have felt more of a boys' club, and certain language, certain standardized ideas. Hey guys, you're right guys, today we're going to be playing on the game. Is everyone alright in chat? All the guys alright in chat? You're all men in chat? You're all men in chat? You're all guys? Alright boys, alright lads. Okay boys, what we're going to do today, boys? I'm saying this to Asmongold, and I love Asmongold. I think he's a thought leader. I think he's a warrior and someone that I really respect and admire. And I think that sometimes when someone points something out, it can feel like they're attacking you. I'm not attacking him. I think loads of people, I do this. I say, guys, you're right, boys. And you're not all boys in chat. You're not all boys in chat. So when I say it, I create this boys club, and more boys feel comfortable, and the more chatty boys stuff we talk, the more times we talk about tits and boys, the less likely it is that environment is going to be welcoming to a girl. Like some 14-year-old girl who's just got her first druid going, and she's a World of Warcraft player, and she starts looking for channels to watch. Like she's probably going to be less drawn to that. And Asmongold probably don't have to worry about her because she might not be his target market. Twitch has not been the domain of those 14-year-old girls that much. Maybe it doesn't matter so much for your target market, but for World of Warcraft it does. It certainly does. I think that's the thing that's going on here myself. That's what I kind of think's going on, is that they're not sanitizing it to be like woke and virtuous, and I think they're just doing it to make sure that the game is not putting off certain groups of people, and at the same time is appealing to a wide broad spectrum of people, and that those people, when they get involved in the game, because an MMO is a community thing. You're talking to people, you're playing with them, you're in raid groups. They want more diversity. They want to create a culture of diversity that has to start at the top, but it has to go all the way through. And I actually should say this. I'm pointing the finger. I'm saying Asmongold. I think it should go all the way through. OTK are great. I watch all their stuff. There's a lot of men in OTK, the group. You're a boys' club of boys. Like, maybe some more girls should be involved sometimes, more often. I know you've got girls involved. I know it's not your job to change the landscape of the community of World of Warcraft, but it's just kind of, from an outsider, the more, like, if you had a daughter and she was going to get into playing pool, and I know you're not responsible for everyone's daughter, of course, but, she's going to get, I've said this before, she's going to get into playing pool. She wants to be a pool player. It's different in America. In the UK, you have to go to the pub to do that, and in the pub, it's all men, so you're not going to do that. You're going to take up a different sport. It's that sort of thing. It's the environment we create. It either puts off or it draws in or whatever. If you don't think about it, if you're thoughtless about it, it can happen accidentally. So I think that's what this might be about.
I'm sure
it might not be unreasonable people. It might be quite reasonable people who want to create a much more egalitarian space.
Worried that some fucking moron at Kotaku is going to write an article about how Blizzard can't stop sexualizing characters because Alex Strauss is in a bikini. That's obviously what they're worried about. Blizzard, in case you're ever watching this, please rest assured that a Kotaku article is not going to stop anybody from playing your game. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's not about what Kotaku write and say, but I think it is about, like I said, how people feel when they're in that space. And some things that Kotaku might highlight in their article might also come up on those
feedback sheets of things that certain demographics, and I'm directly talking about women, I suppose, so I should say it, shouldn't I, that younger women maybe don't enjoy, are put off by. And you could say, oh well, we don't want a game that young girls are going to like. I don't want to make a girly game. We're not making Animal Crossing, but you're making an open world adventure, and people should all feel that they want, like you've seen it in the World of Warcraft advertising. Everyone should have a space in that. You might be a healer, you might be a DPS, you might be a warrior, you might be a priest, you might be a druid, you might be a, you know, it's that cross section of society, that's that open demographic. And it shouldn't be that, oh, I don't feel like being here because it's a boys club. I'm sure that's
nobody
right.
gives a shit about articles. Nobody gives a shit about any of this. You're selling a product, and if the game is good, people are going to play it.
Yeah, if the game is good and people are going to play it, yeah, that's quite straightforward. But also, there are a lot of good games and there's a lot of choice. So if the environment, the people involved, the fan base, I'm trying to be really careful here because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. If you want to target a certain audience, you can target them. Like Among Us, probably not Among Us, maybe Fall Guys is more directed at younger audiences, isn't it? You can target an audience, yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And obviously what Blizzard are trying to do in their global big blockbusting MMO is to target a more general or less targeting and more generalizing, or maybe they're targeting new audiences, new players. Maybe a lot of young men or middle-aged men now like us, me and Asmon, middle-aged, maybe a lot of men have already perceived, seen, tried, well, you know, on these, remember they're doing these feedback forms or whatever, you know, maybe a lot of men have already seen it and are aware of it. Maybe it's time to look at a wider audience. If you want new players, you've got to draw them in from new demographics maybe, so maybe it's something to do with that as well. I saw a video once where someone asked the stream what's on her arm, and she said it's my battle scar, to which they responded, battle scar, did you get burned by the stove? You know, there's all sorts of sexism in chat and stuff, isn't there? But I'm not saying that Asmond is a sexist. In fact, I think he's not, but I think it slips the mind of many people. Like, I think they forget that if you refer to chat as guys, if you refer to chat as boys, if consistently you're getting more boys watching you in your stream, it might be because that's the environment you're creating that feels more comfortable for boys, and they're not all boys in chat. But if I was a girl and someone kept saying to me, all right boys, I'd think, you know what, maybe I'm not, this isn't for me, is it? So maybe it's you know, it's not 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's not your fault, but we all put a little pinch into the stew. We all put a little bit of spice in there, and you've got to just be a little bit careful if you're the thought leader about exactly which words you're using sometimes, I think. You don't have to be. I think it's just healthy to be. I think it's quite forward thinking, and like it shows responsibility and intellect. You don't have to have that, you know, you don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to.
Fucking look at Lost Ark. People play Lost Ark and it's sexist as hell. Nobody gives a shit.
He says people play Lost Ark and it's sexist as hell. Nobody gives a shit. It's because it's a good game. But I don't know who's playing Lost Ark. I haven't seen the demographics. Maybe some people do give a shit, and maybe they're not on Twitch and they're not in that bubble. You know, maybe the people that are playing Lost Ark don't care about sexism because generally they're all men. Maybe it's aimed at that demographic, you see. So I don't know. I haven't got the stats, but my guess would be that the general audience for gaming has traditionally been younger men, and that if you look across the board who owns consoles or who owns PCs and then you target at them, you might end up with that sort of skewed demographic. But it doesn't mean in the modern world, with more and more accessibility to these games, that that's how things should be. I think that's quite a naive take on it. I think it's like if you looked at it and said, well, like we're switching off a huge area of the market because we have done this, maybe you'd end up looking a bit more like World of Warcraft. I don't know.
Because it doesn't matter. The people that care about this stuff aren't the ones that play the games. That's the truth.
Yeah, the people that care about that aren't the ones that play the games yet. But they never will be, because they care about that, so they're not going to touch those games. If you care about sexism, if you care about women's place in society and the struggles they've had, then you look at something like Lost Ark and it's super sexualized characters and you think, oh fucking hell man, this is sexist. Like, not really into that. It like gives you a bad first impression. So of course they're not the people that play the games. That's the problem, I think, that Blizzard are trying to fix with their sanitization of these characters.
Truth. I read Kotaku. No, I've read Kotaku as well. What I'm saying is I don't make decisions off what they say, which is two very different things. As long as the game is good. Yeah, exactly. And so it's important to keep that in mind. So yeah, we've had a lot of these comments and a lot of these negative people unhappy that I've been positive about Dragonflight. If it's because alienating those people, anything is alienating anyone. So
someone in chat mentioned it, like, you know, these sexist things could be alienating those people, so they're not playing the game.
Anything can alienate anyone. Like, for example, how the fuck can you make an argument that a girl in a fucking bikini is alienating, but having alcohol isn't?
No, I totally agree with that. Anything can, and that's why I say, like, we need to be careful in a way, because certainly if we're going to be, like, I hope to get lots of people watching my streams. I hope to get lots of people watching my YouTube videos. Asmon's got them watching him. So if you're talking to lots of people all at the same time like that, like, I do think there is some inherent responsibility there. I'm sure Asmongold understands that. You know, you don't have to be. You could be a jerk. You could do a gambling stream. You could do whatever. But I understand that Asmongold understands ethics. So, like, I think he is a good person. So I think you'll understand what I'm saying here is that you kind of feel obliged to do right by people, don't you? And so taking a little bit of thought, a bit of care to not alienate people in great swathes, still being, you know, I'm not saying a boys club, but, you know, still being, like, a good example is how sports over the years have changed, and the environments that sports take place in have changed. And I think gaming kind of can emulate that in a way, because it used to be that the football matches I used to go to were very much boys clubs, but there were still girls going to them because they enjoyed the football that much that they'd put up with it. And then it turned into a more family-oriented environment at times. There was less fighting. And basically you get a more cross-section of society at the football now, and it's a much healthier environment, really. And you see a lot more young girls playing football, and it's much better in the main. So I think video games could be a bit like that. And so alienating great swathes of people by saying, like, okay, what's up, boys? It's time for the boys club to get going. Check out the big dick tits action. Like, it's a little bit childish and facile, and it kind of puts off certain people, and it kind of does. So anything is alienating. Yeah, anything is alienating. So I'm not trying to alienate people. I'm not going to moderate myself in huge ways because some people don't like this or that about me. You know, I was just smoking my thing, then maybe that alienates people or whatever. Yeah, I get it. Be yourself. But if you can make one little change and say, what's up, peeps? You know, what's up, peeps? Because I don't know who's in chat. Am I to assume they are all boys? You'll only ever have boys if you never do that. And maybe it's better to have, like, just a more open door, and to see you know, I'll be straight up with you, Asmon, straight up. I'll just say this: he's had a lot of trouble with his chat over the years. You know, a lot of people have said memes and funny things, and sometimes things cross a line and he has to ban people, and, you know, there's a lot of sometimes I think that if you get a more general cross-section of society through your way you present your thing, then that self-moderates in chat a little bit, because there are less idiots. Like, if you really make it into a boys club, then you're going to have people who, you know, take the jokes too far, I guess. Vegan t-shirt alienating people. Yeah, vegan t-shirt alienating people. Yeah, let's carry. I don't want this to take too long, so I want him to be able to react to it and see it himself. So if I talk for too long, it's going to be too long for him to look at.
How many people grew up with abusive parents because of alcohol?
I absolutely agree. Alcohol is I don't drink. And when I see it in other people's content, I don't want to be associated with it. Yeah, absolutely.
But somehow it's a fucking chainmail bikini. It's the problem. I think alcohol is 1,000 times worse in a game than a fucking chainmail bikini.
Yeah, I absolutely think that alcohol is a bad signal to be sending to people. Yeah, I mean, it says the boy who just smoked on stream, so, you know, I'm a hypocrite. Yeah, I do unhealthy things, and I've given up drinking. I'd like to give up smoking as well, yeah. But I agree with that. But also, we're talking about, like, alcohol, it gives people a bad impression. You know, they might do irresponsible things, but we're talking about people's choices in life to do things. People don't choose to be a woman, a man, born in a man's body and actually be a woman. People aren't making these choices. So if you choose to, you know, great swathes to, what was the word we were using here? It's alienating, choose to alienate people. Like, alcohol is more socially normalized, isn't it? I suppose chainmail bikinis are quite socially normalized as well. You know, it's a conversation, isn't it? It's a conversation. So I agree with his example, but I don't think that you can say just because something else in the game needs fixing,
The abuse of...
like, this thing is okay. Or maybe he's saying alcohol doesn't need fixing and this other thing is also okay. But I would take your point, and I'd say, actually, yeah, good point. Maybe we don't need to have so many inns and taverns and drinking holes, and, you know, maybe because we're not reflective of actual society, we don't need to emulate that aspect of society, and alcoholism has no place in our game. You know, maybe that's a really good point. It still doesn't mean that you should have naked people running around just because alcohol's in there as well, does it? Two wrongs don't make a right, do they?
Parents because of alcohol. But somehow it's a fucking chainmail bikini, it's the problem. I think alcohol is 1,000 times worse in a game than a fucking chainmail bikini. Get the fuck out of here with that. Yeah, no, we're not gonna pander to every oversensitive baby.
Yeah, agreed. We're not going to pander to every oversensitive baby, yeah. Absolutely, I don't want to do that. No.
Because they get mad that they see something that doesn't reflect their worldview. It's Azeroth, it's not the world.
Yeah, that's another really good point. It's a fantasy world, so we can do what the fuck we want here, and we don't have to, you know, we can do whatever. It can be Valley of the Doll Head Salt selling tit wankers if we want. It can be whatever.
It's crazy, man. Doing war crimes. Yeah, it's a fucking war crime central.
And that made me laugh, because it is, isn't it? You know, all the storylines that go on. We wouldn't put up with that around here, would we? We wouldn't allow Vladimir Putin to go into Ukraine and literally blow up schools and hospitals. Hang on.
Wow. Holy shit. I mean, to be fair, it's war crime central in the US too, right?
He says in the US as well, which is, you know, I think how many people have been shot since that last school shooting? Was it been 300? It's been about nearly 400 people. Probably today it'll be 500. 600 people have been shot since that last school shooting. I mean, I don't know what... Not just that, but also they dropped all the bombs on Iraq. And yeah, I get what he's saying.
But I'm just saying, it's just, you know, at least we pretend like those didn't happen. That's the difference. And let's see here. Imagine not wanting to have an expansion because put pants on a fictional character. People have crazy priorities. Here's why people care. It's because that every single time they see that character, they know that character exists in the way that it does because of some unreasonable person's agenda.
Like, some people that are new to the game will never know. There are some people that they're looking to bring new people into the game. So some people that are new to the game, they'll never know why they don't even know it's changed. They just see what they see, and it's about this wider environment, like I said. So that might be what certain people think when they see the character models. It might not be. So
whenever they look at the game and they play the game, they look at it in the context of knowing that every single thing that they see is going through the lens of this type of a nutcase.
So you're saying that the people that... I assume the people that have played the game a long time can see these changes, and they're the people he's referring to, and they're angry because it's been going through the prism of somebody that's that woke that they have to remove every hint of those melons are too close together, separate them so they don't look like a pair of tits. You know, that nutcase has ruined my game. But I don't think it is... You know, I think there's a spectrum, and at one end of the spectrum is that fucking ridiculous, like, super feminism, Nazism, like, weird wokeness that I don't know if it really exists in any one person walking around. Maybe it does. I don't live in America. Maybe it does. But that's certainly part of the spectrum then, let's say. That's one extreme end. And at the other extreme end is like someone who is not doing that at all, but is completely socially conscious. Maybe I'm doing this wrong spectrum. Maybe the spectrum should go the other way. Maybe it should go to somebody who like absolutely like wants everything out there all the way, you know, all on display. But somewhere in the middle, what I'm saying is it's a spectrum. And actually, it's not that there's someone in an office who's a total nutcase. It's that they're saying, look, we need to sanitize this, bring it up to speed. It's an old game. There are things in there that are archaic. You know how your grandparents make racist jokes. You know how your parents say stupid things that don't make sense because it's a modern world now. Like, there's some stuff like that in the game, and it might not all be sexist. It might be all sorts of different things. Could even be racist. Who fucking knows? I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything like that in there. What I'm saying is there's all sorts of things that might need to be modernised, and they're going around and doing it. So it might not be a nutcase. It might just be someone with the polishing brush.
It's your willing suspension of disbelief is now harder to attain because you know that this game is a product of some form of social pandering.
And that's a bit heavy, you know, saying, right, this game is now that woke, it's social pandering, and so I can't play it anymore because I used to think it was a fantasy world that I was enjoying myself and I was a dwarf and I had an axe, and now you can't even say dwarf because, you know, the Short Persons Alliance is going to come around and shut me down. So it's just fucking ridiculous. I can't play it without seeing this stuff and thinking this political stuff. I can't play it without thinking this political stuff. At the same time as all the time over the years you've been paying money to play the game. That's outside of the realm of fucking fantasy world. That's actual real world. You have to real world pay your actual fucking money, and on top of that you've been having all these real world conversations, interactions, like the leading of your raid group, the understanding of the mechanics. The mention of mechanics takes you out of that fucking immersion, and you make your fucking videos talking about, and I love you, Asmon, I love you, but I can't think that you're that immersed in the game that all of a sudden some social pandering has removed that immersion, because you spent your whole time talking around the game and the meta of the game. And do you really believe you're in there when you're playing it? I understand it's fun to suspend your disbelief and your, you know, your reality. I get it, and some things break that totally, like a WoW token or a boost. But like, I don't know if that's so high on the agenda that we should stop sanitizing the game for a modern audience. We should hold back on that, opening it up to a broader audience and taking their feedback on board. Like, you talk about the new WoW teams are really good at taking on feedback and changing the game. This is that. It's part of that. It's just from someone else's perspective, so you don't quite see it the way they see it. But if it was your daughter and she was 11 years old and she started playing and she saw some of this stuff and said, "Daddy, what about this?" Or not even Daddy, what? No, ask the people in the chat or ask the people in the game, what's this? What about that? And then we started having these conversations, and she came home in a chainmail bra at 15. And anyway, I don't. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine. I don't know. But maybe it's not, and maybe some young women don't feel the same as you do, is what I'm saying. So maybe we should open the world up for their opinions too.
So that's why it's bad. Yeah, it changes your perspective. And so yes, I do think these things are bad. I think they're fucking ridiculous. Now, is this a reason I'm not going to play the game? No, I don't think so. But if enough other people were, I guarantee you she'd be back in a fucking bikini. That's a fact, and never fucking forget that. You as the customer is always right. And if people stop buying it, it changes. That's a fact. Appealing to the masses. Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy how political WoW's become over the years. Yeah, I think people don't like it.
I think you used to appeal to the masses by taking off the clothes and the tits, because the masses used to be young men. But now the market is a bit more modern, is a bit more wide, open-minded. And so I think these days, if you want to appeal to the masses, doing something like pair of tits out, that actually is quite niche these days, and that like sidelines you into it like writes off a huge swathe of the market that you might not consider to be the traditional masses, but really it is. And you look at some of the games that sell huge numbers around the world, and there's actually quite a lot of just young people playing it. Not young boys these days, but young people, including girls.
No politics, my waifu games. Exactly. Look how popular.
Hang on, what's this? What's this?
So WoW's become over the years. Yeah, I think people don't like it. No politics, my waifu games. Exactly. Look how popular Genshin Impact is. It's just a bunch of waifus. That's what people really care about. That's what they like, not this bullshit.
Genshin Impact's just a bunch of waifus. That's what they care.